of times our students enter with some really upset feelings about academics, and we want them to find that confidence again. Dyslexia is not a cookie-cutter diagnosis. There are two really big areas that a student needs to have under their belt in order to read fluently. One area is called knowledge of the code. So knowledge of the code is understanding what letters or groups of letters together make a word. The other area is called phonological awareness skills. These are those foundational skills. They are 100% trainable, and they look like this. So you might have segmenting, which would mean breaking sounds apart, blending, which would mean mushing all those sounds together, and then phoneme manipulation, which means changing sounds within a word. So students with dyslexia can have challenges in one of those areas or both of those areas. And then it can also manifest into writing as well. We approach reading intervention with evidence-based practice and a speech-to-print approach. Our reading intervention is called Phono-Graphix. So this approach falls under that umbrella term of structured literacy intervention, but unlike other structured literacy interventions, it naturally mimics the language development. So in other words, students hear the word, pair it with a visual, and then match the two together. So I hear cow, I see cow, that is now a cow. Here at Odyssey, our intervention does the same thing. So our students hear the sounds, then they see the sounds and the patterns of those sounds within words. So the language that we use here is a little different than a typical general education mainstream school. What a lot of people know as graphemes, we call sound pictures. So that kind of explains it all. They are visuals of sounds. They explain what sound looks like. For example, the sound A has 9 ways to show A. Now, within these 9 ways, we can have A in the beginning, middle, and end of a word, and we would call those ways sound pictures. So during the lesson, this is something that's extremely important when we're teaching students with dyslexia, that one sound picture equals one sound. So a student who says after sounds, for instance, if the word is spray and they say s, p, a, they hear the so they might write a s sound picture, and a sound picture, and a p, and continue on. Well, we both know that that's not the way to show spray, and so what Sam did was perfect. She asked the student to cut the sounds, and he had a lot of trouble cutting the sounds, so then she showed him how to cut sounds. So he would go s, p, a instead of sp, a. One sound versus 2 sounds. So Phono-Graphix not only is a great speech-to-print intervention, but also what it does is it excludes all those rules and exceptions to the rules, opening up that cognitive space for students to really engage in what you're doing and utilize those new strategies in other realms, instead of being boggled down by, what's that rule that you told me last week? Or why doesn't this actually fit that rule? Or why is this an exception? I don't get it. So we don't focus on that stuff because that's extra. We focus on what's most important, and that's those patterns of sound pictures within words. Some of the cues we use in Phono-Graphix are touch and say, so using your finger and touching each sound and saying it as you're going. And the other cue that we use is blend as you go. So those are for more multisyllabic words. So if the word is napkin, I'm gonna say nap and then kin and blend them together, napkin, for multisyllabic words. It depends on the student, but sometimes we start with the multisyllabic or many chunk words as young as 2nd, 3rd grade, and sometimes they need a little bit more time. A lot of times I've noticed that I will start with the younger student on those multisyllabic words because they have what's called basic code in them. So napkin, a, and I are what we call basic code, or in other words, short vowel sounds. The advanced code would be those long vowel sounds, and those multisyllabic words I might target a little later. But there is almost this cascading effect, like the student's confidence kind of boosts when you have these multisyllabic words, because now they can read these longer words, these bigger sentences, chapter books. They just get excited, and that's the point here, is that we want to make reading exciting. We want to make writing something that's not laborious. And that's why I feel like the interventions work, and we see it every day.
Each word while you read it, let's double check we got that right.
Jeff will take the train up to my
Maine.
Maine.
Yeah.